A car crash, another car crash, two different accidents, the exact same time, the exact same name, two deaths. Don't you think that's a little too perfect for a chilling coincidence? This is the story of a night in the ER that defies all logic, leaving us to wonder about fate or something far more unsettling. A night when the fabric of reality seemed to ripple, leaving behind echoes that still haunt the quietest corners of my mind. In the emergency room, you get used to chaos. It's a symphony of beeping machines, urgent voices, the harsh glare of fluorescent lights, and the frantic, relentless pace of life and death playing out on polished linoleum hallways. As an ER nurse, I've seen my share of strange cases, grim outcomes, and incredible saves that felt like small miracles plucked from the jaws of fate. We thrive on logic, on rigid protocols, on the scientific certainty that explains everything. Our world is built on verifiable facts, on observable phenomena, on the predictable rhythm of human biology. But then there are those nights, those rare, unsettling moments that rip through your understanding of the world, moments that make you question the very foundations of reality. A night when the universe seems to play a trick so profound, so astronomically improbable, that it leaves you questioning everything you thought you knew, every truth you held dear. That particular night, the trick involved two women, both named Clara. It was a standard Tuesday evening, heading into the night shift, the usual mix of minor injuries, a few routine heart attacks, and the predictable weekend overflow that often spilled into the early days of the week. The hospital was a buzzing hive, never truly quiet. The clock ticked past 7 p.m. Then the first urgent call crackled over the dispatch radio. A head-on collision just outside city limits. Female driver, mid-30s, reported unresponsive. Paramedics were on the line, their voices terse, relaying the grim details. She'd gone into cardiac arrest en route, but they'd managed to get a pulse back, barely. Her name, the dispatcher confirmed, was Clara Miller. A common enough name, one that registered in my mind, but didn't linger. Just another critical trauma, a life hanging by a thread, heading our way. The trauma team sprang into action with practiced efficiency. We prepped Trauma Room 1. The gurney wheels squealed a familiar, unsettling tune on the linoleum as the paramedics rushed her in, their faces grim under the harsh overhead lights. She was in her mid-30s, with light brown hair matted with blood and grime, pale skin stained with the grim reality of the accident. Her injuries were catastrophic. Massive internal bleeding, a shattered pelvis, potential spinal damage. We worked with frantic speed, pumping blood, calling for immediate surgery. Her condition was deteriorating rapidly. It was a desperate race against time, a battle we felt slipping through our fingers. As we fought for Clara Miller, another call came in over the intercom, clipped and urgent from triage. It was Nurse Thompson, her voice a little too high, a little too strained. "Nurse Anna," she paged. "We have another trauma. Female, same age range, car accident, name's Clara, inbound. ETA 5 minutes. I paused, my scalpel suspended. Another Clara. My eyes met Thompson's across the room, wide with disbelief. "And get this," she said, her voice now a breathless whisper. "Same exact date of birth, March 14th, 1987. I blinked. That wasn't something you heard twice in your lifetime, let alone within an hour in the same ER. My hand, usually so steady, trembled slightly as I went to the charge desk and double-checked the first Clara Miller's chart. No mistake. March 14th, 1987. A profound wave of cold apprehension washed over me. Was it a mistake in identification? But no. Paramedics quickly radioed in new details. Different location, miles away. A different, earlier time of the accident. A completely different vehicle involved. No passengers, no overlap, no discernible explanation. 2 Claras. Same name, same exact birthday. No connection whatsoever. The odds were so astronomically low, it was beyond coincidence. It felt arranged, deliberate, a cosmic, unsettling irony. The first, Clara Miller, succumbed to her catastrophic injuries. I remember looking at the clock as I called her. Time of death, 8:04 p.m. The room stilled. Just as we were zipping up her body bag, the sound of squealing gurney wheels announced the arrival of the second Clara. It was 8:06 p.m. Only 2 precious minutes had passed. The second Clara, Clara Johnson, looked nothing like the first. Darker skin, with tightly coiled curly hair. She was semi-conscious, groaning softly, mumbling about her brakes failing, about seeing a bright, blinding light. She had severe chest trauma, multiple fractured ribs, and her airway was quickly becoming compromised. I instinctively held her hand as the anesthesiologist intubated her. Her fingers squeezed mine once, tightly, then relaxed. I leaned in, telling her we were here, that she wasn't alone. She kept whispering something. I leaned even closer, straining to hear, and I could just make out 2 chilling words. He's waiting. Then she flatlined right there on the table. We worked for 12 frantic minutes. No heartbeat, no response, nothing. Time of death, 8:18 p.m., just 14 minutes after the first Clara. 2 lives, identically marked by birth, ended in the same ER, minutes apart. We meticulously checked every single detail. We cross-referenced their names, their next of kin, photos, social security numbers. They were completely, utterly unrelated. Different hometowns, no matching records, not even mutual friends on social media profiles. When we looked into it later, there was nothing. Just coincidence, the official reports would blandly state. But tell me, what were the odds that 2 women with the exact same name, born on the exact same day, would die in separate car crashes on the same night and end up in the same ER? It defied every statistical probability. It felt predestined. Some of the younger nurses made nervous jokes about doppelgangers. Someone else, even more unnerved, asked if it was a glitch, like life was a simulation repeating a mistake. Me? I just stood outside room 4, where the second Clara lay, trying to make sense of the profound silence she left behind. I've seen the end of the world for families hundreds of times. I've held the hands of strangers as they took their last breath. But that night felt entirely different. Not chilling in a supernatural way, not overtly terrifying, just profoundly, unsettlingly strange, as if 2 invisible lines, drawn years ago at birth, had for no discernible reason converged at the exact same point in death. Same name, same birthday, same death. In the cold, sterile logic of a hospital, it should have made sense, but it never did, and it never will. Some nights in the ER stick with you, not because of the blood or the chaos, or even the sheer number of deaths, but because of the things you can't explain, the anomalies that defy science, the moments that cling to the fringes of your mind. whispering of a reality far stranger than our own. Then there was the young man, mid-20s, brought in after a major stroke. No history, no warning, just collapsed in his apartment. His roommate found him on the floor, still breathing, eyes open, but unseeing. They tried, God knows they tried everything. Neurology was there in minutes. The CT scan confirmed the worst. Full brain herniation, no brainstem activity. He was pronounced brain dead after 2 full sets of tests. His family agreed to organ donation. I was there when they wheeled him out of ICU, down the long, sterile corridors to the operating room. He was still warm, his heart beating rhythmically on its own, even though his mind was irrevocably gone. He didn't look dead. That's the part that hits you. There was stillness, of course, but it wasn't the kind of peaceful repose you expect. It was just a pause. Hours later, one of the transplant nurses, Sarah, came to find me. Her eyes wide, face pale. "They couldn't start," she whispered. "The heart, it reacted." I walked with her to the OR. The transplant surgeon was already writing notes, his hands trembling slightly. He wasn't a dramatic man. They'd opened his chest, and the moment his gloved hand touched the heart, no compression, no stimulus, just a gentle touch. It started beating faster, harder. It wasn't a pacemaker. It wasn't a drug reaction. It was like a powerful, insistent fist punching from the inside. This was not supposed to happen. The patient was legally and clinically dead. The entire room went utterly silent. One of the assistants swore the EKG spiked for a second, then flatlined again, even though no monitors were active. It delayed the procedure for almost half an hour. No one wanted to touch the heart again for another 10 minutes. The team stepped back, rechecked everything. Vitals? None. Reflexes? None. Still brain dead, still gone. Eventually, they proceeded. The heart was successfully transplanted. It worked. It saved someone's life, but it didn't leave them. The family, the surgeon, the staff, untouched. Later, the doctor, a man of unwavering science, said something I'll never forget. It was like he knew he was going, he said, like he wasn't quite ready to leave yet. "I've seen hearts stop. I've seen them restart. I've witnessed the miracles of modern medicine. But that was different. It wasn't medical science. It wasn't a miracle. It was just human. A profound, unsettling manifestation of something we don't understand. Sometimes in this job, you feel like you comprehend everything. And sometimes you're brutally reminded that the body has its own profound secrets, that maybe the heart just remembers something the mind has already let go of." I still think about him, the brain-dead young man whose heart wouldn't stop beating. I wonder what he was trying to say in those last, impossible moments. In the ER, you get used to coincidences, but some nights just stop you dead. They become a part of the hospital's whispered, unofficial history. Then there was the young man, mid-40s, brought in, not from trauma, but from an uncontrollable, violent outburst. He'd been found alone in a church parking lot, half naked, screaming at the sky, quoting Bible verses backward. Toxicology came back clean. Nothing in his system. I was assigned to him. The moment I walked into the room, he stopped moving. Then he looked right at me and said my name. Nurse Anna. I froze. I'd never met this man. He had no ID, no paperwork. He hadn't spoken coherently to anyone. But he said mine, like it held weight, like he'd known me for years. I tried to brush it off, but then it started again. Flailing, eyes rolling back, his tongue moving so fast it was barely human. It wasn't random noise, it was speech, backward, over and over, phrases like, "God isn't here," and "Save us," all garbled. We had to sedate him. Even under heavy medication, he didn't stop completely. His lips twitched, he whispered, and just before the drugs fully took hold, his eyes snapped open, a sudden, unnerving clarity, and he said, "You can't save her." It didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a certainty. I didn't understand what he meant then, but later that night, just before my shift ended, my phone rang. It was the nursing home where my mother was recovering after a mild stroke. She had passed away in her sleep, sudden cardiac arrest. No signs, no warning, they said. I stood frozen in the hallway, phone in my hand, that man's words echoing in my head. "You can't save her." We never found out who he was. His fingerprints didn't come up anywhere. He was transferred to a psychiatric facility. I later heard he stopped speaking entirely, just stared at the wall. I still think about that night, more than I should. Not because I look for answers anymore, but every now and then, when I'm checking on a new patient and they say my name like they've known me before, I feel that cold little shiver down my spine. And I wonder what else we don't understand about the people who pass through these doors. What else might they carry behind their silence or their screams? There are wounds you can't see, and some things, no matter how much training you have, you just can't save. Hospitals are full of echoes, old footsteps, half-remembered lives, words spoken just before the end. You tell yourself it's just the atmosphere, the stress, a mind looking for meaning. But sometimes, even in the brightest corners, shadows linger. Room 4 was just a generic trauma room, but over the years it became different. Subtle things at first. A persistent cold spot, call lights that would flicker on when the room was empty, patients looking repeatedly at the same spot, as if watching someone we couldn't see. For years, I ignored it. We all did. Nurses are superstitious, but they're also practical. Then Mrs. Langley came in, late 70s, COPD, pneumonia. Sweet lady, sharp as a tack. She'd call me dearie. One night, doing my routine rounds, I found her sitting bolt upright in the corner of room 4, quietly watching that empty chair. I asked if she was okay. She didn't look at me. Instead, she said, her voice soft and even, "He doesn't blink." I asked who she was talking about. "The soldier," she said softly. "He sits there all night, doesn't move, just watches." The chair in the corner was undeniably empty. I tried to brush it off. She shook her head. "He told me I'd be joining him soon." I remember the way she said it. Not scared, just accepting. She passed away 3 days later. As they wheeled her out, I glanced at the room, and I swear, just for a second, I saw a silhouette sitting in that corner chair, just the indistinct shape of a presence. After that, I started paying attention. Over the next year, 6 different patients in room 4, all elderly, all nearing the end of their lives, mentioned the man in uniform, always in the same spot, always sitting quietly. Not all of them saw him clearly, but enough recounted the same details. green fatigues, a hat in his lap, boots planted firmly on the floor. One patient, an old man with a heart condition who had been a veteran himself, actually saluted the coroner before he passed. We checked the records. No soldiers had been admitted to room 4 in months. No visitors matched the description. There was no reason for anyone to be there. Some of the staff started requesting different rooms for their patients. Me? I started talking to him, quietly, under my breath, when no one else was around. Just a hello, a simple acknowledgement, just out of respect. Because if there's someone there, if part of a man in uniform is still on duty in room 4, I don't think he's malevolent, just waiting. Maybe watching over those who are nearing their end. Maybe just making sure no one goes alone. I don't claim to know what happens after the heart monitor flatlines, but in that room, with its heavy silence and corner shadows, sometimes you just get the feeling that someone already knows. Hello, friends. Thank you all for joining me on this chilling journey. Your support means everything to me, and I absolutely love reading your reactions and personal experiences in the comments section. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat or sent shivers down your spine, please make sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing for more haunting tales. Have you ever experienced anything similar to this? Or perhaps you have your own unexplainable story to share. I genuinely love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Each of your stories adds another fascinating layer to our growing community of horror enthusiasts. And if you think someone else might enjoy a good scare, don't forget to share this video with them. Stay tuned for more spine-chilling stories. And remember, sometimes the scariest tales are the ones that could happen to any of us. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, if you dare.